streaming. Now
Okay.
and
Now we're live.
now. Hello, everybody. We are live. So welcome to the first initial E-Team roundtable, or whatever we're going to end up calling this thing. We'll figure it out as we go. First of all, let's do a mic check and a sound check. If anybody can make sure everybody can hear us, if you can drop something in the chat, that would be super helpful just to let us know that we're coming through okay and that all of the equipment is working properly.
Yep, everyone maybe do a little sound check.
Oh,
Testing 1, 2, still dance.
Yeah. We don't have any concurrent yet, so people are probably still logging in. Oh, there we go. JB Gossinger is here. JB, how are you?
What's going on, JB?
JB's in the house.
Good deal. Good deal. Awesome. Well, anyway, you guys want to go ahead and get started? Who wants to kick off? I think we had kind of a loose agenda, and I don't know if Jeff, since you're kind of the ringleader, you want to start us off with some introductions, or do we want to go from top and go clockwise? Whichever way you all want to do it.
Yeah,
I can certainly.
Jeff Vlad, and then me and you, Ed.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, we got it. All right, so I'm Jeffrey Moss. My channel is on YouTube at Jeffrey Moss, no spaces, and I've been on for about a year and a half, and I focus pretty much exclusively on e-ink note-taking devices.
My name is Vladimir. My channel is Vladimir Kostek, just my name, and I pretty much focus on long-term tech reviews, and more recently I've been really into e-ink because I find it like as a really invaluable tool, and yeah, that's pretty much my channel.
All right, and I'm Roderick, and I'm like, what's my channel? Rants About Tech, and I do it mainly e-ink, and I'm trying to get into other areas of technology, but mainly e-ink right now, so that's it.
Awesome. And some of you may already know this because this is my channel we're streaming from this time, and we're going to rotate that. But I'm Ed Finn, and I'm on Organizing for Change. And this is I kind of started this as a hobby, just messing around, talking about organization. First review I ever did was a Rocketbook, and threw that out there and kind of said, here's this thing to go digital and get rid of paper. And then I did the Supernote, and that just kind of had a life of its own. So I do quite a bit of commentary on that, but a lot really on just getting organized, how you organize, finding the right devices for you, and kind of infuse my journey into that. But that's kind of how I think this got started, with some comments on each other's posts. And Jeff said, hey, we should do a live stream. Here we are.
Eventually.
Eventually, yeah, after 1 week of hiccups, but that's all settled and behind us now. So,
which is interesting. Learned a lot. So,
yeah, learned a lot.
So, do we have? Do we want to start from the list that we have up, or
yeah, it might be nice since I'm directing if someone else could look at the list because I've got.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm pulling it up right now, actually. But we had a lot of really good questions on the list, so I think that
we did. Well, I can actually start us off because I have it up.
Larry.
So what inspired you to do your YouTube videos? So Vlad, you want to kick that off? What got you into doing these YouTube videos in the first place?
I guess at the time I started my channel actually 7 years ago. And only in the past year or so I've been really more consistent about it. But just more as a hobby, there were certain things I was on subreddits about, and I found some things on the Reddit and just wanted to share some stuff. And so I created my first video, and it had some success, and some people enjoyed the actual process of me teaching them something, and it kind of got me into the actual video realm. I come more from a photography background, but I I've really been kind of enjoying playing around with video and learning the intricacies of it, and just like sharing information and also learning about stuff. Like I think that's one of the biggest things I've taken from my YouTube channel is that like when someone comments on a video, there's a lot of times where I'm reviewing a product and then I end up learning a lot more about the product because of stuff that YouTube has enabled, which is really awesome. And that's one of my favorite aspects of it for sure.
I want to riff off of that because that's kind of similar to me. And then I kind of started posting on Reddit, and I like Reddit a lot actually. And I think the communities on Reddit for e-ink are generally pretty good, but there is something very limited about the format. And then being able to go over to YouTube and actually be able to show the video and to go a little bit more in depth and have more visibility, frankly, is a big reason why I made that jump. So very similar. It's interesting. What about you,
like
Rod?
Reddit's great, and there's so many knowledgeable people on there. But like I think I'm a visual learner, and so like visually I like to show things like that. Where I think you can get limited resources on Reddit, and it's like really invaluable. But for me, I like visually kind of seeing what that would look like.
Totally agree.
Yeah, well, I mean, my journey is kind of similar to Vlad's. I mean, I come from like learning video and photography as a hobby, so I've always kind of like had cameras around and done stuff, but never anything like significant. So just basically just learning. But I've always been into like technology, so that was one thing that I've always wanted to explore, talking about. So I got some time on my hands after getting out of retail and was like, okay, I got some time. Now's the time to do it. And so I started the YouTube channel. I think I started it maybe a little over a year ago, and just didn't know what to do at first. And then one day, I think in April, I just decided, okay, now's the time. And just started talking about, it's funny because I was expecting to do technology as a whole, like just talk about everything. But someone brought to my attention an e-reader as a way to like keep notes more organized, because they realized that I was super unorganized with my current note-taking solution, which was a notebook and a bunch of index cards. And so after like losing index cards and then not being able to find notebooks with lots of ideas and stuff that I had in them, it was like, okay. She's like, well, just try this thing. It's supposed to be a digital note-taking device that you can keep all your thoughts in and everything will be in one spot. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll try it. It sounded like the Newton that I had tried years and years before. And then that was it. Like after I got into that, it was no turning back. It was like I was super into e-ink at that point. The technology, it just seemed magical. Just the way it works is a super magical system, and I fell in love with it.
I'll jump in. I think I kind of I previewed this a little bit in my intro, but I really got into this during COVID. So I was working for a municipal library at the time, and we did we're hearing a slight, sorry, somebody popped into the chat. I want to make sure we're getting this. Looks like there's low volume with a slight echo. Vlad, it looks like on my end you might have a secondary input coming through that's capturing. Like, do you have speakers out other than
a secondary input? Let me see.
Basically, it looks like when I'm talking, you're also capturing my audio. Maybe your laptop mic.
Just for the audience's edification, like we do dry runs on this and everything's perfect. Like perfect and pristine. And then
Ed, how about now?
Let me see. No, I'm still showing bars coming through on you, but I'm not hearing myself. So let's make sure. If anybody hears anything, please let us know. That's what the chat's there for.
Yeah, someone in the chat saying Roderick's volume's low. The rest of us look okay, I think.
Thanks for all of the comments, by the way. And so I'll jump back in real quick. Sorry to sidetrack everybody. I just wanted to make sure we were back on track with audio because that was our kind of thing that hit us last time. Say something real quick, Rod. Let's make sure.
Yeah, does that help my volume out or?
Yeah,
A little bit better.
Good to me. All right, cool.
Okay.
So, pandemic time, I was working at a municipal library. We had to turn ourselves into a cloud economy or a cloud institution when we were using tape backups. So it was like way back in the day. And there were many nights I was up late trying to help with all of that. And I found My Deep Guide and I found Kit Betts Masters. And I was like, wow, I've been wanting to use something to take notes besides pad and paper forever. And there really wasn't anything there. I mean, I know Sony did it with DPT and some of the stuff early on, but it was never quite to where it would really work for what I needed. And so I think I watched every tutorial imaginable on Boox, on Remarkable, Supernote, all of them, even Quaderno, all of that, and settled on the Supernote. And I haven't used a piece of paper in 3.5 years, other than if I leave it somewhere and I have to like pull a pin out of my briefcase. So why did I start doing videos? Because I was like, this is really cool, and here's my workflow. Maybe it'll help somebody. And that was kind of the journey I started on. Got almost no views on anything till I hit Supernote, and then it was, it jumped a bit. But it was, but that was it. That's what got me into it. Seeing other people who were relatable doing it and having a good time doing it and open to having me ask them questions. That was pretty cool. It pulled me in to be able to do this.
What you reminded me of is, before I got my first device and I started with the Boox Note Air, you go to my office at work and you'd have stacks of different writing pads, or you have individuals like print. I would take paper out of the printer tray and then do notes on that, or I'd have my stickies around the rim of my monitor, little things to do. It's all gone. If you come into my office, you rare to see even a single sheet of paper. If there is one, it's probably something I'm pinning to the wall or whatever. So it's pretty amazing how much my whole life they've talked about the paperless society, right? This vision of getting rid of paper, and I don't think that ever became real for me until I had one of these devices.
Same. Yeah. And then
100%.
the cool thing is about these devices is that I don't think they could have worked in the world we lived in before, just because of the connected nature of everything right now. Exporting, importing things, all of these devices have multiple ways that you can go about doing that, which makes it so useful. I think that's the biggest difference between me using these kind of devices now and me using these devices, maybe 20 years ago.
Yep. Okay, so kind of riffing off of that, in terms of like your YouTube videos, what is kind of the most difficult thing about that? What's been the most rewarding thing about doing your channel? And I guess Vlad, will go back to you.
Sure. For sure, for me, the hardest thing was, I think, getting to a point where I could be consistent. And like I said, I've had my channel for 7 years, but I was very sporadic about posting stuff. It was just kind of like when I felt sparked with creativity to like make something, I would do that. And essentially, I actually, kind of like Rod was saying, the Remarkable 2 was pretty pivotal in me organizing and like figuring out a workflow and scheduling stuff for my YouTube channel. And now I still use it for like big picture stuff, but these other devices too are really pivotal for that as well. And so I think I've gotten to a stride where I can like put out content more regularly now, and I've worked on the consistency. But I think that was probably the biggest challenge for me. And then the most rewarding, I mean, I already talked about like learning a lot from the users and people I talk to, but then I think next to that is stuff like this, right? Like connecting with like-minded people and having an outlet to just discuss technology, which I talk about 24/7 anyways, so.
That's the life, man.
So yeah, next, Jeff
Rod.
or Red, rather.
Most challenging part would be knowing when to quit. Like that's my thing. Like I don't know when to stop doing something and be like, okay, stop, move on, you're done. So like, if I could learn that, I'd be okay, you know. But that's the hardest part for me is knowing when to say you're done with something and move on to something different. Because I'll stay on one thing forever. And
Like, do you mean like in production? Like, what do you mean by?
yeah. Like all parts. Like when I'm scripting something or implementing the idea or just in the editing process. Like I'll go and just be like, okay, there's more to do here, you know. But I'll have to find spots to stop and say stop, and then go on to the next stage of what you're doing. So that's the most difficult part for me is stopping doing something and then moving, knowing when done is done.
Yeah, perfection is the enemy of productivity, right?
Yeah, like my brother told me the other day, he was like, you got to remember that done beats perfection, or done beats perfect when perfect isn't done. So I'm trying to carry that through, you know what I mean? So
What's the most rewarding then?
um this, like literally the community, you guys, the people in the comments, just the community is probably the most rewarding part. I mean, I'm a hermit, man. So without this kind of community, I probably wouldn't meet very many people. so so it's good to like meet people and be in that space doing that.
Right on.
Real quick,
And like-minded.
Rod, I
That's
think your
important.
volume's still a little low. Oh no, someone just confirmed audio is better now. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, Vlad, for some reason you're still picking up other people's audio. I don't know how to fix it, but it's popping in.
I mean, I
But
can try.
they said it's not
distracting.
distracting right
Okay,
now.
I can try a different headphone. I mean, audio's going through here, and then I got the mic here. But I can try a different one if you want.
When you talk, it's fine. So that's what I'm just
Weird.
curious what's pulling in. But yeah, I agree with you guys 100% on just the community piece of this. I just want to jump into the reward first. The community piece of I didn't expect that. So it was one of those things when I popped into it, I thought, I might put out a few videos. People might see them. Of course, I got some really snarky ones at the beginning in the comments of, your lighting's awful and, all of this other stuff and your audio's awful. But it's okay because, I was doing it at the time with my document camera as my only camera. And so I was doing both things with the same, camera and trying to piecemeal this. But having met Kit and then having him bring me on his live stream and us having that conversation and community members in his chats saying, hey, you should talk to this guy. It was like, wow, here I am. I've got, at the time, I think it was 300 subscribers. And all of a sudden I'm on Kit's channel, and that I didn't expect. And then when I met the three of you, it was like, wow, this is even, we're all kind of in this same struggle. We're all putting out content, trying to be consistent. And I think to Vlad's point, the consistency piece has been hard for me, and to Rod's point, because, the old saying is perfect is the enemy of the good. And you have to just know when to say it's good enough to go and accept that it's not always going to be perfect. And I think that was my biggest challenge, was trying to balance, because I have a full-time job. This is a side hobby. So how much time do I invest in it? But I don't want to put out an inferior product or an inferior experience for the people that take the time to tune into me and ask for advice. So I think those two things are the biggest.
All right. I'll round us out. For me, probably the biggest thing. Oh, did we do your challenge? You did. You talked about the technical
yeah,
challenges?
It was the consistency and
Got it.
kind of overproducing.
Yeah. So for me, it's very similar themes. It's been a ton of learning for me. It's been great to help people and share information that's otherwise difficult. You know, I think a big inspiration for my channel is that you know, you can't go to the store, right? And you can't look at these devices and touch them, which would be the most ideal situation. So I'm just trying to put together a channel that's kind of the next best thing. And there's other people that do great work around this too. It's not like I'm the first, and nor am I the best to do it. But to have my own voice, which I think is a little bit different than what the other stuff is out there, I think is helpful for folks. And I'm kind of gratified to be able to help people in that way. In terms of challenges, you know, I think I can't remember who said it. I think it was you, Ed. You know, the top down camera angle befuddles me. Like I can't get the lighting right, and I've been trying things all year long. It's the single biggest point of criticism people have had about my videos, and it's fair. You know, it's good criticism, but I'm still trying to figure out those technical aspects of the lighting versus the shadow and all that good stuff. So that some of the technical pieces are difficult, which you'd expect for someone that had no technical expertise going into the venture to begin with. But yeah, that's my take.
That's always fun because then when you get it to the way you like it, then it's like very rewarding, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know when I get there.
Well, and I don't know if any of you all encounter this, but my desk is used for so many other things. So like I have studio envy of like anybody who can have their desk set up to do this all the time. Because I don't. I mean, mine every day I've got to reconfigure it 3 different ways to do 4 different things. And then getting back to something that works is like, how'd that happen? You know, where did I place the camera that time?
That's
Yeah, I'm with you. Oh, go ahead, Red.
No, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was just gonna say I take everything down. Like this is my study. Like when I'm not shooting videos, I'm doing other things. And the last thing I want is all my gear surrounding me or obscuring my view of the monitor. So I'm putting it up every shoot and I'm taking it down every shoot. So if you walked in my room and I'm not doing a shoot, you had no idea I would be filming in here. I mean, you'd have to like look behind the monitor or, you know, in these different nooks where I store stuff.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah,
same
so I
way.
definitely
every
envy
time
people
I
that
make
have
a video,
dedicated.
it's like you do kind of like a build around it, you know.
Yeah, I found a room and I threw all of this stuff in it and was like, I'm only coming in here for this stuff. Like, I because that's what I was doing at my last. I'm not sure if you guys know, but I started in one apartment and I moved to a different one. And you know, after I started making YouTube videos. And the last one, that's what I was doing. I was taking stuff down and putting it back up, and I was like, Jesus Christ, man, I can't keep doing it. It's just for me. I mean, because like Vlad said, you know, he was doing photography before, so I'm sure you've accumulated tons of gear, you know, over the years. So same with me. I was doing traveling photography for a while, and I just amassed a ton of gear that I just decided to like throw up and repurpose for YouTube. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna find me a pole to like put all of the stuff on, and I have literally everything running from this one pole in the center of the room there. So I leave it there, and I walk in and I try to do that because I know what you guys are talking about, and that is a struggle, especially when you have a lot of stuff to put up. You know what I mean? I know that struggle for sure.
Yep. Okay, let's go. So my understanding, team, is we're not to answer the boxers or briefs question. We're to skip that one.
Yeah, we're to skip that. You're going to get me in trouble. I'm not doing that.
Can we, do you guys mind if we cut in real quick to A5X2?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
yeah.
that's like the most recent kind of news in the e-ink world.
It's the hot stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Take
Hot topic.
No, so I want to hear, I know I've watched some of your guys' videos, but we haven't really talked about it. The past couple times we've talked, we've been working with like tech issues. So
I want to start off with a hot take.
Yeah.
I've said this before. But I'm gonna say it live for everybody to hear. The A5X2 is not coming out this year. I'm telling you, it's not coming out this year.
So that
get
means
your
that
hopes
that
up.
means the A4X2 won't come out in December.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
I had no illusions about the A4X2 in December, but I disagree, Rod. I think it's coming out this year. I think it's going to happen.
Agree.
We're going to get into the specifics, but I just wanted to throw that out there first. Just get it out there.
You went for the juggler on that one, Rod.
Yeah, man. I mean, just like right in under the radar. It's like, I'm just going to kick this off and like drop it.
Yeah.
My vote's on this year.
I vote for this year too.
Okay. I do think it's going to come out shortly after the new year, though. January, February, Valentine's Day. You know what I mean?
Oh, God help them if that's the case, though. I mean, I can't imagine a worse time, a dead time in terms of getting people's attention and buying a product than January and February. I mean, that would be pretty devastating.
Yeah, I mean, Rod, you're from the retail space. If this comes out as a February gift, there is nobody buying it.
No, and I thought, and to be honest, when anyone would ask me this question in the comments, like when do I think the A5X2 is coming out, pre-letter, and we'll get to it. Pre-letter, I thought it's going to come out September, without a doubt. September is what I would have told anyone who asked me pre-letter, but post-letter, I'm thinking next year.
And just for everyone's edification, I think Rod's referring to the letter called, was it Chasing the Carrot?
Yes.
Which
I didn't even want to say the name. Oh.
Yes, Rada
closer to the carrot.
Closer to the carrot. My bad. A release is a response, I think, to a lot of the comments taking place on the Reddit page about why the device hadn't been released yet. So, Ed, you are, although you and I both use our Supernote as a daily driver, you're clearly our resident Supernote expert. So, did you want to comment on that?
The residents. I don't know if you all saw on my page, but someone sent me like the most cool caricature of myself.
Oh, I saw
and I
that.
put it up on my YouTube page. And I was like, this is awesome. I don't know that I'm really the Supernote authority, like they said in the caricature, but I do use it, and I use it all the time. I mean, I kid you not. I used it through capital campaigns, huge, large organizational changes. I try to find the things that are kind of hidden or they don't talk about, and highlight those types of productivity pieces, because I think there's a false narrative a little bit out there about Boox as the productivity platform, because I think whatever makes you productive is your productivity platform, whether that's Remarkable or Supernote or whatever puts you in a flow state. But I think it's coming out this year. I'm hopeful that it'll be in the end of this month or early November, I think, because of the way they talked about skipping pre-orders and going straight to inventory on hand and kind of ramping up that manufacturing process. But also because I think they were trying so hard to hit that September deadline. And even on the back end, the contacts that I had, I would ask them, they're like, we're really trying to hit it. And they were saying it on Reddit and they were saying it everywhere. But when you're getting hundreds of angry emails every day saying, hey, it's tomorrow, when is this coming out? Hey, it's tomorrow, when's this coming out? Hey, 2 days from now, it's the end of the month, when's this coming out? Just the PR nightmare for a small company, partially self-inflicted, 100%. I think that they just got ahead of themselves. And I think their carrot analogy was, and you guys and I have talked about this a little bit offline, I think they meant well, but we in the West, especially in the Western market, think of the carrot and the stick. And to them, they were setting unrealistic expectations for themselves. And they were trying to tell us that they missed their own targets. And I think that's how I read it. Now, you all are, I'm happy to have you disagree with me and push back on that, but I read it as in we overreached.
Yeah. Well, so
and
I think
we're being
it's
public
like,
about it.
I know Jeff, you talked about this, about how there's like two camps. There's like the group that is like, yeah, take your time, make a nice finished product, and then there's the camp that's like, hey, you've been, pushing out dates and like we haven't seen anything. And I think it's kind of interesting because it's like it's a problem that stemmed, I think, a lot from, in my opinion, probably like the Reddit community where they like shared a lot, and then that's kind of one of the nice things is like you get all these inside scoops. Like we already know a lot about the device and we've only had a small announcement of it, but like then it created this kind of feedback cycle where a lot of people are getting disappointed and they, inevitably had like some production delays. They're a small company. I'm sure nothing ever really like comes out normally on time unless they really try to plan for it coming out earlier and then it'll come out on time, right? Like if you just look at pretty much any company or any product that's like a smaller kind of firm, and so it's kind of sad now because like we're probably not going to get as much inside scoop on future things, but I also get it from a company's like PR perspective where like letting all the users and like aficionados into this early stuff creates these false expectations, and it's a tricky situation,
I totally agree. I mean, one of their major differentiators is this communication on Reddit, and I think probably epitomized by their roadmap, where you can see all the things that they want to develop over time.
The Trello
No
board.
dates on the roadmap, which is good. I think ultimately my hope would be that they just learn from this experience and just refine what they communicate or what they don't communicate. You can probably still be transparent, for example, on the technical aspects of here's some features we're looking at and what have you, but maybe a little more quieter on the marketing aspect until they're ready to go. I would hope that would be the learning from this ultimately, and it could be. Like I don't think there's anything about any of this that ultimately cripples them, other than the delays themselves. Like I'll go back to that anecdote. I can't tell you how many posts I saw where
Oh, yeah.
you've got a student basically saying, okay, I'm about to go 10.3, or is it the Supernote? Oh, there is no Supernote. So I'm going to go with the Go 10.3, even though they wanted the Supernote. So that this has hurt the company because of that. But, it's done. It's a sunk cost now. So going forward, I think they'll be okay. But,
Yeah.
and I
At the
do
end of
think
the
they're
day,
going to release
they
this
still
year.
make great products, so it's like
Yeah.
it's not gonna hurt them long term, I don't think. But yeah, to your point about like the technical aspects, like they released that color article the other day of like why Supernote doesn't use color. That's a perfect example of something that's like an inside scoop of their ideology, but isn't setting any expectations or anything.
Well, and I need to just real quick, let me jump in because this came up. I posted late last night my reaction to the whole article, and someone dropped in my comments, and I have to verify it, but it supposedly came from the chief chat officer on Reddit that they've scrapped the A5 Slim
Mhm.
because of the challenges that they ran into with the Nomad. They basically took, or challenges coming out of the Nomad. So they've kind of tried to make the A5X2 a hybrid, and that's what led to the delays. It was a full redesign to make it thinner while still modular. So if that's an accurate statement, and it was a long post somebody put in my comments about, this is the quote from the company. Tell that story, guys. That's probably, to me, is they communicate a lot, but they're not always good at telling the story of why did we make this. That's a good story. People love the A6X2. It's modular. It's 2 years ahead of the EU law. I mean, you can tell that story really well, but instead they're getting mired down and trying to respond to every comment, and I think that's a lot of what's hurting them. Rod, you had something to say. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think you're muted.
Rod, you're muted.
I'm
Going
back.
on a silent rant.
All right, so
Silent rant. I love it.
I was about to go in. So yeah, I was good point you brought up. Because I didn't know that, and that makes total sense if you look at the design of it. Especially if you look at the A6X2, you would just automatically think the A5X2 was going to have a very similar design, just a bigger size, right? So the fact that the design is different does lend some credence to the fact that they could have done a design scrap and implemented some of those slim design decisions from the slim into the A5X2. So I can definitely see that. But what I was going to say though before you went in on that is about the color that Vlad brought up. I don't think anyone even cares about color who's buying a Supernote. I know I've never thought to myself about my Supernote, I wish it had color. It never even comes into play. So I think it's a different kind of consumer who's buying the Supernote, and I don't think that consumer is concerned about color at all.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Agree.
Speaking of color too, I think when Remarkable's announcement came, like for the Paper Pro, I think that maybe took a little pressure off. Like what you're saying, Jeff, of like the school timing, like this is, school season, so that would have been a big thing, but like that happens every year, right? Like there's school season next year, and people that will inevitably buy it if they think it's a good product, right? So, but the like fact that a Remarkable 3 didn't come out with like a better screen and just black and white, I think actually gives Supernote a little leniency there. Because if you look at the other devices that are like new black and white with, high PPI and stuff, there's the VWoods and the Boox Go 10.3, right?
Yeah. I would say the Go 10.3 is probably the biggest disruptor there. The VWoods we'll see. I mean, I'm not all bought in on the AI functionality, but that's just a personal thing, and I know a lot of people are really looking for those integrations. But you can get that with the Boox.
So Ed, I agree. Like I'm just talking about like hardware wise, like the high refresh rate, card at 1200 or 1300. The Remarkable Paper Pro is so expensive that like I think it is not a direct comparison to like an A5X2.
Oh no, 100%. I agree with you there. Yeah, I think it's more going to be a comparison without color to the A4X2 if we ever see that, and that's a discussion for probably later. But I really do think that that's where that competitive space is because of the size, the screen real estate difference.
Yeah.
What size you started 10.3?
No, I said if they come out with the 13.3.
13.3.
Hey, we're getting some comments, guys. I'm going to pop them up here real quick.
Pop them up there.
So someone says Soundwave says the iPad Mini 7 will be released.
The iPad Mini 7 is never coming.
And now they're saying we still have echo again. But here's one. Let's see. ROI producing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the right question. I've talked a lot about the fact that this is a niche market that doesn't seem to be it's growing, but it's not growing at an exponential rate. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why you don't see people like Apple or Samsung getting into the marketplace, frankly. Kindle obviously is the biggest player by far. But there's a different kind of business strategy there as it relates to their selling books. So yeah, no, it's definitely, it's interesting. The letter that Rada put out was like, oh, we don't have financial issues. It's not really production issues, but it's, I guess, design issues we're assuming. But I'm kind of surprised at that, though. I mean, I do wonder how long can you go on without selling the A5X2 and still be financially viable? I don't know anything about their finances. In fact, virtually everybody in this space is a privately held company. Amazon's an exception, but they're so conglomerated, you have no idea, what the financial impact of their e-ink devices are. So we don't know. We don't know if, and we don't know what they're probably a subsidiary of another company. Interesting bit here. So going back to ViWoods, I ended up getting a pre, and so I got the mini. I think, Vlad, you got the 10-inch. I don't know if you noticed this in your shipping box, Vlad, but it didn't come from Viwiz. It came from this other company. And so I ended up doing some research on it. And the company that it came from, if I have this correct, is actually a company that builds like dental equipment.
Hmm.
So, this is clearly like the subsidiary of a different concern. And so presumably that's a good thing, right? So you've got this parent company and it's basically saying, we'll invest in this company until you get going and become, can stand on your own 2 feet. I wonder if there's a similar situation with Supernote. I wonder if they have a parent company that's helping to kind of fund them and position them. And if that's the case, then maybe these delays aren't as big as they might otherwise seem. But if they're on their own and they don't have, all their funding is just from sales, then you have to wonder what this impact is. And definitely, if they don't make it this year, I mean, that would be pretty significant, I would think.
Yeah, if Rod's takes right, that I think that could hurt them if it's like next year. But then again, I think the Supernote platform itself is a very like niche platform where like people who like the platform, I think regardless of if they bought, a Remarkable Paper Pro in the meantime, they might still buy that because of the modularity and just the organizational power of it.
I'm just a riff on that. I'm really in my mind, like there's like two separate markets. There's Boox and Supernote on one side, and there's everybody else on the other. And I'm not sure there's a lot. We're crossover, we're examples of some of that crossover, but for the most part, I think people live in one of the two sides. And I totally agree with you. I don't think the Remarkable, even the Pro, is so compelling that people would leave Boox or Supernote because you're giving away a lot of features.
I think with the Supernote for me, I don't think having a Supernote or being a Supernote owner just excludes you from using another device because of the functionality is so different. At least that's been my experience. I use it totally different. I write all of my notes and keep all my ideas on the Supernote, and I'll refine those ideas on a Boox product because I just have way more ways of handling the information once it's there. And I think a lot of people are the same way. A lot of people have the Supernote, the Nomad, and they use a 10.3 or a Remarkable or something like that that's bigger to keep like serious like document taking and stuff like that on. At least that's been what I've been getting from the people in the comments and from my personal use.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Right. I think that, like for me, the reason I use, and because I have the Nomad and I use it far less than I use the A5X, but I'm really intentional about what I use it for. So, I mean, I use tools like Obsidian and the plugin to pull in the handwritten text. It gets recognized, and now I have my notes and the handwritten text, and I can clean that up in a digital format that I can send out. So, for me, this, is all about note taking and brainstorming and writing, and
Exactly.
that's what I use it for. And if I need to, I can still check email. I see my Google Calendar, and I don't have to take my laptop with me unless I'm going to show something visually. But I switch from product to product based on what I need rather than thinking. I don't say every Boox user falls into this, but sometimes I think that we want e-ink to be the new iPad. And if you really want it to be an iPad, buy an iPad. But if you really need it to be something that is stripped down and used as a notebook replacement, it's perfect for that. Again, everybody's use case is different, but for me, it does exactly what I want it to do, and everything else is kind of gravy on top once they implement it and I figure out, wow, I can do this new thing.
So what about you and Vlad, Jeff? What's you guys' use case for the Supernote? Do you use it in conjunction with other devices, or can you see yourself doing everything that you need to do on the Supernote?
No. Okay. So my use case is that my Supernote is my primary driver, daily driver. I'm using that every day at work. Because I'm using it at work and I work in the healthcare industry, like I have to be super protective about that information. So I don't link that. I don't have any accounts on that device. It's just, I just use that device in isolation. It doesn't connect to anything. I don't use any of the integration features, for example, from Google for the calendar, just because I just can't do that. So that sits on its alone. I use the Note Air 3C mainly as the tool for video making, believe it or not. So I'll type out on my computer my outline of what I'm going to do in a video, and then I'll use the origami cover to prop up my Note Air 3C and then have my outline there in front of me as so instead of a teleprompter, basically, I'm using the device.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm also using it as just like at home to-do lists. So they exist. I guess what I'm trying to say is I use both devices, but they exist in their own worlds, and there is no integration between the two for me.
Same, and that's exactly how I use it. They're two separate things, but I daily drive the Supernote 100%. Like if I don't touch any other e-ink product every day, it's that one because it gets all of my thoughts. Every thought I have, every idea, every show note goes. So yeah, and it doesn't like you. It doesn't integrate with anything else. I just kind of if I'm going to be manipulating something to a higher level, then I'll just rewrite it on another device if I need that. How about you, Vlad?
So I use the Nomad, just like the sizing, really nice. Daily carry around for me. Like I will always have my Nomad in my bag. Sometimes something else along with it, but I'll always have this. Just because, and this is actually something else I think Supernote really has going for them is like the pen. If you want a really nice pen experience, in my opinion, Supernote's the only one that has that. And so that's another factor I think that keeps people coming back to the Supernote as well. But I use my Remarkable pretty much for just big picture stuff now, like strategy. And then on the off chance I script a video, which I haven't really been doing much anymore, but then I'll use the Typefolio and kind of script a video. And then the Paper Pro, I'm going to start digging into like sketching a lot on it. But also that's kind of what I like the Nomad for is it has Atelier and it's just like a nice little like jot pad for drawing ideas and stuff.
I want to riff off what you just said about the hard to metal pen because I've bought 3 of those things, 2 original, 1, Gen 2. Yep. All have broken. I still love it better than any other stylus I've ever done. And to be fair,
how did they break?
So one of them broke where, the coil or whatever is out of alignment. So it's writing when you're not touching the screen, one of those situations. The other 2 broke where the heart of metal pen, the heart itself becomes dislodged. And so it's shaking. So I'm said broken. I'm still using them. Let's see if I have an example here. Oh gosh, my.
Do you have the standard push up too?
The one I do. Oh, that one's fine. That one works. Yeah, that has had no problem. This is, I think, the broken one.
Still good.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it's funny though, Jeff, because I have that is a mug full of pens. I have 3, so I have the original Heart of Metal. Still works fine. Occasionally I pull it out because it's lighter. I actually like it. It's a little bit lighter than the second gen. I have a second one that I bought, and then I actually won the Christmas giveaway a couple of years ago. And they sent me one of the OM2 Samurai pens. So I have that one. And
who makes that one?
It's still Supernote. It's just one of the variations that
like
you can order.
I think it's the most expensive one out of the Heart of Metal.
Yeah. See, I don't have any of the Heart of Metal pens.
That's actually what they used in the promo for the A5X2. That black sleek one,
Yeah, it's really sharp. No, you should get one, Rod. I mean, I know you like your Lamy with your ceramic nib, but I'm telling you, the feel and if you put the cap, hot tip that I've said for 2 years and nobody listens to me on this. If you have an HOM Gen 1 or 2, if you put the cap on the back of it and give it a slight twist as you push down, it will not pop off.
I'll try that right now.
You twist as you push down.
Okay. All right.
It will not just fall off. Nobody listens to me on that. That was like the #1 trending thing on Reddit. And I kept telling people, guys, it's like a classic pen. You give it a little twist. So
That might
anyway,
take me one of
no,
those.
but I've heard of them breaking, and I don't know the ghostwriting thing they fixed in the new software. I don't know if you saw that, but you can go in and actually. I had that happen with my put-up pen a couple of weeks ago, where it started ghostwriting, and I went in and did the delay calibration, and it works perfect now.
Okay.
So
To try that. I don't know where that stylus went.
Have any of you
Well,
tried
so-
making a custom pen, like with the ceramic refills or anything?
Rod, looking at you.
Yeah, I
You
did.
did the Lamy, right?
I did too. I did the Lamy, and I didn't make a video about it, but I did a regular pen as well.
Cool.
And just put the insert into a regular pen, and it works fine. But I have a question though about the Supernote pens. They have some special like programming or something on those pens because nothing writes like them. Like even if I put the ceramic nib in different pens, nothing writes like the Supernote pens do. And I don't know, they have to be doing something special for sure.
Could it be the spring? Well, I was trying to think of, and you all may know better than this on me, but maybe it's something about the mechanics of how it's actually constructed
exactly.
for the HOM,
Exactly.
but it's
Yep.
not.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's not. It's a lot different. I've been realizing that they all write a little bit differently, depending on who the manufacturer is. And I think someone even mentioned the fact that they can be, the characteristics can be changed. Maybe just how you're saying there, Ed.
We got.
But I like
we
the
got
way it
a
looks. I
quick.
guess it's the point I'm
Yeah, I
trying
was
to
gonna
make.
say we got some comments.
No, yeah, I just wanted to pop this one up because I think it's software. So to change away from hardware for a minute, what do you think the next software update is going to be with Supernote? You guys
Why
got
don't
any
we all
hot
go
takes
around
on
and
that?
say like what feature you would want to see most?
Okay. I'll start. I use the star marking system. I think everyone knows that. I would like to see a couple other symbols added so you could have different lists, but using that same basic functionality, which I think is superior to tags, but it's limited because you can only have the one symbol now. So you got a couple others. I think that would be
So you're
that'd be
saying
awesome.
different
I don't
lists
know if
for
they're
different
working on that, but
symbols?
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
A
Rob,
lot of people have requested. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Well, I would. This is my #1. If they did this, I would be so happy. I'd buy more Supernotes if you're listening, rather. If they would make the highlight feature, just combine the highlight feature and the keyword feature, so that when you highlight something, it just puts it in your keyword indexing. That's like,
Ooh,
I think they
okay.
should do that. I would love that feature. That's what they should add if it's up to me.
kind of like
Hold on,
kind of
Let
like
me
digest.
amend. Exactly, but let me amend that. Ed brought that up when I made this point in a video. He added the point that if they were to give you a tool selection when you highlight something, kind of like with the selection tool, when you get those at the selection type site tools, if you highlight something and they give you a set of tools, and one of those tools were make this a keyword.
I think that would be a better implementation because otherwise you'd get cluttered
Yeah,
with.
and there's no graphical representation of keywords right now. If you make something a keyword, you have no idea you did that. Other than
Agree, I
going
don't
and
like
checking
that.
your index.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I think that's a big. No, I think that's a big request. Also, one that's not mine, but shapes. People are straight lines and shapes. People are like clamoring for that. Mine is the basic thing because, like I've told you guys before, and I've told everybody, the thing does everything I want it to do. Everything else is extra. But the one thing it's really missing is multiple calendar support. If they could get that, I'm golden because I already have multiple emails, so I can see my personal email and my work email, and I can see. Again, I don't usually reply through it, but it's nice in a meeting to be able to pull it up and see it on demand. Same with the calendar. If they could add, it's kind of a two-part thing, but it's if they could add in multiple calendar support and writing on the daily view. If they did that, I think they would
Yes.
replace a lot of the PDF planners
Yes.
out there. You know, sorry
Writing
to
on daily
those
view.
who are using those, but it would make it a fully functional planner too for someone, whether they wanted to be in or out of a software ecosystem like Google or Microsoft.
Yep.
So,
Hmm.
what about you,
I
Vlad?
love that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that as they start to release these bigger products like the A5 and A4, depending on when that is, they need to prioritize split screen, I think, like a split screen view. I know Boox has it, but I think that's like on the Nomad, it really wouldn't make a lot of sense because it's such a small screen. But when the A5 and A4 sizes come out, I think that's something they should really focus on.
Do they make different software for the different sizes, or is it the same?
I'm assuming, Rod, because the Nomad's 300 PPI, it probably scales perfectly to the new 300 PPI, right? Like on the A5.
So it'll be they're using the same exact, because I know how
Yeah.
Boox makes different software depending on what device they're making, what size, different
The
sizes.
tab
same
versus
product
the
line.
others.
Well, I guess
Exactly.
who has a A5X? You, Ed,
Well,
Ed
I
does.
do.
Do you, Jeff?
Yeah.
Jeff, you do too. So I mean, you can probably comment on that experience, right? The new software is exactly the same for both of them, right?
I
Yeah,
think
well,
so.
they've got different like naming conventions. I think that's just to differentiate because like this doesn't have the dual slider.
Yeah.
Other than
Right.
that, it does every single thing that the A6X can or A6X2 can do.
Yeah.
The
And
dual
only other thing
slider
there
function is your
um,
issue.
Is the 226 PPI, so they're scaling it different, but that'll be easier with the
Yeah.
A5X2.
Yeah.
And then I guess my last thing that I would like to see update software-wise would just be Atelier. Like, there really hasn't been a push since it launched for any updates. There's been a lot of like feedback they've gotten, and I know they're working on it, but I would like to see that implemented a little sooner because it's been since December now. We're almost pushing a year without an update on that.
Yeah, I think all they had were a couple of small bug fixes. I mean, really, the last update was mostly bug fixes, and I
I'm
think
talking
they're
about,
waiting
like,
on.
feature updates. Maybe
Yeah.
that'll come when the A5X launches, A5X2.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
So I have
Somebody
we got
else, real
another
quick, put a
comment?
search feature in the calendar.
Oh yeah,
Throwing
Makes
that
sense.
out there.
absolutely.
Yeah, Rod, go ahead.
I was just thinking, we talked about the when the A5X is going to come out, and the big question for me right now is what is Boox going to do now that Remarkable has released the Paper Pro, considering what it is and what it is not. You know what I mean? And also, I don't know about. I mean, I'm not sure if you use the any of the Note products, Vlad, or not. But I was going to ask.
like Boox Note.
Yeah.
Note. I've tried one, but I don't own one. No.
Okay. Well, because I'm just really interested in trying to figure out what they're going to do on that front now that the Remarkable Paper Pro has released, and kind of like what that might mean for the industry going forward.
So like a Note Air 4, you're saying something like that?
Or yeah, maybe whatever their response to this may or may not be.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's
but-
interesting. I feel like a Note Air 4 is probably pending, right? Because like we have the Carta 1300 panel now, and the Note Air 3 is still using a 226 PPI screen, correct?
No, it's usually
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
The
Oh,
Note
is it?
Air 3,
Okay.
the Note Air 3C is 300 PPI
Okay,
Kaleido,
gotcha, okay,
right?
all right.
But I think the Note Air 3, the non, is still not 300 PPI, I think.
I think so.
I think you're right.
So
Yeah.
that could be pending an update, I think, soon. But they've been really pushing their Go line, so
Right.
I don't know.
I think Rod, your core question, well, my where my mind goes when you ask your question is Gallery 3. And how does Gallery 3 fit on a Boox device? And here's the problem, right? So Remarkable was a great place to do the second iteration of Gallery 3 because there's virtually no scrolling. And scrolling is something that Gallery 3 really doesn't do very well. The refresh rate isn't capable. Well, Boox's devices, for the most part, are quasi tablets that oftentimes do require scrolling. So can Boox just jump in with, say, a Note Air or a Go and then put the Gallery 3 screen on there? I don't think it could without like exposing some of those weaknesses. Now, if they try to change the UI where you don't have any scrolling involved, everything's basically a page turn, then that would help. But when you start doing Android apps, though, it's going to really expose that as a problem. So I think Boox is in a weird spot. Like, what do they do with Gallery 3? I wonder if they're going to focus more on the smaller screen sizes, where you're mostly using them as an e-reader. That will be fine for Gallery 3. That won't be a problem. Where you're 10 inches and larger, I don't know if they're going to go that direction, just because it'll look worse on their devices because of what they do.
All right, so here's a thought. Like, I know a lot of us have talked, and I know Kit's talked about this too, about like a focused mode on the Boox devices, the Go one specifically. What if they had a Go that was like a gallery panel where the UI was much, like it was lent better to what you're talking about, where it's less scrolling oriented and more page turning oriented?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that could be. But how do they do that without? Would they still have the apps?
Right, and you do need a front light too, right? Which is the Go lineup doesn't have that, so yeah.
Yeah. So here's my incoming rant. Sorry. This is where we get into the problem of wanting it to do everything, of wanting it to like be what, in my opinion, it's not. It's like, oh well, what if we add this? I mean, to make Gallery 3, I think, really flow well, the processing speed would have to be tremendous. And I think, Rod, you've mentioned that before, that the Remarkable Paper Pro, they could add enhanced internals. The thing would be heavier, to really kind of bump up that processing speed. But, and you hear a lot about distraction free, and I get it. You can, silence your notifications. You can turn all that off. But why should I have to think about that every time I open up my device? Why should I have to think about changing modes all of the time? Sometimes you just want to pick up a device and have it work. And to me, Remarkable is the absolute best at that, even though I don't own one and it's not the device for me. Supernote is probably second. And then you get into the Android market to where it's kind of the Wild West. But yeah, I hear you, but part of me is like, come on, guys, is this really where we need e-ink to be? And maybe the answer is yes. I don't know, but it almost seems like a niche within a niche from my perspective with the color devices, unless you have a specific use case. And we've talked about sciences and other things where you really need color renders.
Right.
Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
Well, I like the Boox devices, and I like the fact that you can, go into certain apps. Like Google News is one that I do tend to use quite a bit. But I think your core point is spot on in that, e-ink is great at two things. But when I mean better than what it replaces. So reading and writing. So I would rather read on an e-ink device than a book. I know not everyone shares that opinion, but that's my opinion. And we just demonstrated earlier in the video that I'd rather write on these devices than on paper. But when you start going beyond that, it does get, for lack of a better term, speculative to me. And even though I've enjoyed, again, like a Google News or whatever, it's not the core of what e-ink does really well. And I do wonder, like some of these other products that come out with e-ink, and they're just trying to expand the market, and good for them, and for doing that. The Daesung and with monitors and what have you. But I do wonder, like how successful can that ever be if those other applications aren't a superior thing to what they replace, like with reading and writing. And I think that's your core point.
Yeah, and I think it's doing your research. I think they should all exist. I'm not the guy who's saying, oh, don't build it. I'm just saying that do your research and find the device that fits what you actually want it to do. And if you do that, if it's Boox, great for you. If it's Remarkable, kudos. But sorry, Rod, I wanted to clarify because I think I agree with you, Jeff, on that make sure it does what you need it to do. and then that's the way that should drive the decision making.
Yeah, I think they're all like good options. Like there's a device for everybody, right? So, but and they all do something differently. So and because of that, there's enough room in the market for all of them to exist. But as far as where Boox goes next, I don't think it's gallery. I don't think they would step into that for the same reason you said, Jeff, because they do a lot of scrolling, and it's multifunctional like that, and people that buy those devices kind of expect that. And if you get a device that can't do that and it's a Boox device, then you kind of let down. But I do think there's a line to be drawn here between things looking good and things working good. And though Kaleido is not the best example of color on e-ink, it is a functional example of color on e-ink. And I think functionality wins over complexity every time. But I don't think they do anything different. I guess to go into my own question, I don't think they do anything different as far as what they're doing now, unless we've had this conversation before, Jeff, where you mentioned Kaleido 4. Maybe they would wait until that technology is available and ready to do something before they come out with new products, which I think would make a lot of sense. Because things can always get smaller, and the pixel density of Kaleido can always get denser. So and as a result, maybe the colors get a little bit more vibrant. I'm not sure how that process works, but I do think that's where they go. I don't think they make a move with gallery unless gallery is scrollable, and right now it's not.
Well, let me riff off. Go ahead.
Go ahead first. I'll ask.
Well, I was just let me riff off that, because I think you're right. But then, so there's a piece of me that then says, okay, we all know, right? There's going to be a Boox announcement in the next month or two about their fall lineup, just because the history tells us that. And my gut, and I think Vlad, you actually mentioned this too at a previous conversation, like my gut is everything's going to probably be iterative, maybe a slightly larger battery, maybe a slightly better processor, but nothing like, but then my gut tells me that they're going to surprise us in some way. And I can't think of what that surprise is. But let's put it this way. I do these videos where I try to predict the future, and I don't have any ability to do that. So I do what you would think I would do. I look at the historical pattern and I say, well, where's that going? And I'm always wrong. So I'm wondering why I'm wrong here based on what I just laid out. Anyway, go ahead, Bud.
Well, so I have a question for you guys, but just to talk about that really quickly. So I think when we talked, we were like discussing like so they had the Tab Ultra C, right? And then they came out with the Tab Ultra C Pro. So it's like, what do you come out with, like a Pro? Because like the screen hasn't changed, like the technology of Kaleido hasn't gotten better, right? So there's really not much to change unless it's like a bigger battery, but like that.
Would we
I
settle
don't think
for
that
faster, thinner?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm thinking maybe is like there's certainly room for now that we have the Remarkable Paper Pro, that's like a big color device. There's certainly room for a big Kaleido device,
like a 12-inch,
like a 12 or a 13-inch, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a Tab X size device. But I was thinking the iPhone just added iPhone just added a button this year, and they called it new. So they could add a button to the side of the Tab Ultra Pro, C Pro, and then be like, here, new device.
Yeah.
The Mobius spread. The Mobius spread has a button that you can turn on front lighting, and I like that button a lot. So that actually would be a cool.
Just like, listen, I'd buy that. I'd buy that.
Hey, here's something that actually dovetails on that someone put in the chat. It says, with the new modular design, do you think hardware-wise Supernote may focus on modular improvements rather than launching new products?
I'm wondering
that
about
requires a design change, I think.
I think it depends what it is, right?
Well, and what's modular, right? You could go the modular direction with the internals, but you could also go the modular direction with the shell. And I'm curious what direction, if not both, if they're going to go down.
Vlad, this may be perfect for you because you got the framework, right? So you've got the customizable PC or the laptop. What do you think? Because this is like down your alley, I would think.
Yeah. So really quickly before we get into that, I just wanted to know what you guys think. Will Kaleido 4 come out first or Gallery 4?
Gallery 4. Gallery.
Wait, oh, Jeff, you think Jeff, you think Gallery?
I do. I don't think there will be a Kaleido 4.
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm going to be outlier here. I don't even
right
care.
Here, Jeff. That hits me right here.
Oh, man.
I don't. Just for the record, just for everyone's edification, I feel 55% that's true. There's like 45% of me that's like, oh, there probably will be a 4, but 55 says no.
Do you know what I want to see if Kaleido comes out? Voya's reaction. Because he really does not like Kaleido. He thinks it's a dead-end technology.
I use my Note Air 3C more now than I ever have because of how trash the gallery is on the Paper Pro. Like, I pulled out my Note Air 3C like, oh, I love you. I love it.
So Ed, what do you think? Wait, Rod, you said you said Kaleido.
I think that I think Boox may try a gallery screen. I don't know in the race as far as Kaleido 4 which one may come out, but I'm not a color guy on this. You all know that, but imagine Gallery 3 with the Boox super refresh technology. And maybe if they can move those pixels faster, now your battery life's going to be atrocious, but could they do that? Because Remarkable is true to Remarkable, saying, oh yeah, you can just wait for it. You know, we're not going to add any specs. We're not going to beef up processors. We're not going to kill the battery. You just let it do that refresh. That's what it is. So Vlad, I wish I could answer directly, but I don't know. I think they might stay with the 2 for now.
I feel like I need to learn a little bit more about Gallery because I'm just like digging into it now. I mean, Jeff, you've had the big me and all that. But from my understanding, I feel like Boox Super Refresh would be trickier on Gallery. I think just because of the technology difference. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, it feels like it's different, right? I mean, let's remember what we're talking about. So with Kaleido 3, it's a Carta screen with a color filter. So the Kaleido screen is black and white, negative, positive, and they're moving them around. The difficulty of Gallery 3 is you have 4 color capsules with different charges, and they're different sizes, and they're harder to move around. That's always been the challenge. So without knowing, and that's the extent of my technical knowledge, by the way, without knowing anything additional to that, I just wonder if the oh my God, it's getting all crazy over there.
So I just wanted to bring up a little
there you go.
Visual
very good.
While you're talking,
Yeah. The only thing.
You want me to make that full screen?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. It makes it look like they're all the same size. I don't think that's the case. I think they're actually different sizes in the capsules, is my understanding. But regardless, so whatever they're using in Kaleido 3, I don't know if it would translate because it's such a fundamentally different underlying technology.
I would imagine they'd have to create something totally different to speed that process up for Gallery. Just because.
Yeah, now that you're saying it, I agree.
And more pigment. Yeah, I lost my thought. Oh.
So really quick, Rod, just if you guys look at the rates here. So the fast color, standard color, and so I mean, it sounds like just with the actual refresh rate time, I don't know if like having a GPU could actually fix that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like I said, I need to learn a little bit more about it.
Which is why I think they're going to stick with Kaleido. I just think I mean, whatever technology we're using they can make it better. If they can't make it better, they will. And it's familiar, you know. I don't know. I definitely think that's an avenue they should explore, even if they don't.
All right, you can take me off full screen, Ed.
Yeah, I did. So here's my question on that. So e-ink in general for these types of technologies was meant to be stable. That's the big problem. The big problem is they were used for signage. And like Gallery 3 was developed for static signs that only had to be changed every so often. So it's almost like we're trying to put a square peg in a round hole and make it do something totally outside of what it was designed for. Whereas I think Kaleido was kind of designed to be, we're going to put an overlay. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we're going to put an overlay that doesn't impact the device necessarily, but allows you to be able to see some kind of color. What do you think? I mean, to me, that's what they'd almost have to reinvent the wheel in some ways to get it
That's why
working the way they
Gallery
want it
4,
to.
I think if they're gonna do, I think when they create Gallery 4, whatever specs they use for it, I definitely think, to your point, Ed, I definitely think they're gonna add some or make sure that whatever specs they're trying to hit for Gallery 4 are going to be compatible with whatever we need for e-readers. I definitely think that that's going to be a consideration in Gallery 4 whenever they finalize those specs.
I guess
So I
where I
think-
go, I'll,
Go ahead, Jeff.
I keep going ahead. You get to go first. This is your turn.
I was just gonna say, I was just gonna answer the question I had earlier. I feel like if one were to come out soon, I feel like Kaleido 4 would come out first, just because I don't think Remarkable would like use a technology that's gonna be like then kind of maybe superseded
Exactly.
right away. You
Good
know,
point.
like
They're going to
Yeah,
not,
so,
I
okay.
mean, not even that like Gallery and Kaleido are like super comparable, but like we're saying, Gallery for Remarkable's use is fine because it's page scrolling, or not scrolling, page turning, right? But yeah, I think it would be interesting if like Kaleido 4 came out like in 3 months or something, you know, and then like it's like 200 PPI color and like looks way more vibrant or something, right? You know.
And that was my point
Let's-
at one point, was why would they do that? Why would a company who like sits with a technology for as long as Remarkable does in their devices, why would they settle on a technology that has a rapid iteration going on? Like, you know what I mean? I guess to your point, Vlad, it just doesn't make sense for them to have done that, you know?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm going to push back on that though, because the Remarkable 2 screen, that's old technology.
Yeah, it was old when they used it, when they first implemented it.
Right, but
I
my
think that
point
was-
is, ever since the Remarkable 2 came out, we've just seen nothing but iterations on the screen technology. So I don't know why this would be different.
What about this?
I only say that because of how long they sat with the Remarkable 2. They sat with that for almost 5 years.
No, I get the point. The point there. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know that Remarkable picked the Gallery 3 with any expectation that the underlying technology would not advance. They had to just pick a technology and go with it. Going back to the reason why I am pessimistic about Kaleido 4, and I hate this phrase, but I'll repeat it. You know, it's been said that it's a dead-end technology, and I don't like that because I like Kaleido 3. I think for what it does, it's really good, and it's actually amazing how they cover up some of the flaws, like the 4,000 colors, for example. Yes, it means that a lot of your images aren't faithful color-wise, but how they kind of fill those gaps, unless you had the source material, a lot of times you wouldn't know. But it's just I don't know. Are they gonna how would they improve it? Would they up the number of colors? It's been at 4,000 for a long time. The resolution at 150, like I don't. It just feels like I don't know where that advancement would come from. And maybe, and again, I'm not a tech guy at this level, so maybe it is possible to make it better, but it just feels kind of to me like maybe it's been so static in some of their attributes for so long. I just wonder what could possibly be the next thing for it.
Well, if you look at like Kaleido 2 or Kaleido Plus to Kaleido 3, it is a pretty big noticeable like
Yes.
contrast and vibrancy change, I think.
Is there a resolution change between those two?
Yeah, it goes
Yes.
from 100 to 150.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
So that's what I'm saying.
I
If they
think
go
they
to
can
like
do-
200, that's like a significant upgrade over 150, right? For color.
and think about the fact that they can make it thinner, which would make it a little more transparent, which would brighten the screen up a little bit. I mean, I'm just trying to think of ways that they may be able to do it because I
Well,
want it to happen.
Yeah, no, Rod, what you're saying, Rod, like the black and white contrast, that can always be improved, right? Because that's one of the biggest drawbacks of Kaleido 3. So there's room for improvement there. So even if the color like levels, like you're saying, Jeff, don't change a lot, you know, the 4096, like if that remains static, that's fine. But if they can improve contrast alone and PPI, like that's a big enough upgrade, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
If they come out with
one
300
observation.
PPI Kaleido 3, I'm on it.
Yeah.
You know, one thing though, I just want to jump in real quick on this because I think it's important. One thing it'll be interesting to see if Amazon does something crazy with e-ink again. So
With
if you all
color, or
remember,
like a
the
scribe
300 PPI came out specifically on the scribe.
Yeah.
So I think if there is a Kaleido 4, not a Kaleido 4, if there is a Gallery 4 in the making, I wonder if,
Amazon scoops
because
it
they've
up.
got the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is speculation, pure and simple, but they did that and they had like a moratorium where all these other manufacturers had to wait
Would that kill with
to
market?
come into that 300 PPI.
If they did that,
With that count.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering because they're the only big
Gallery
player.
4.
One thing to keep in mind in this discussion is that e-ink is not secretive about their technologies. So Gallery 3 and Kaleido 3 were both announced 2 years ago, I think it was, actually within a month of each other. And a second version of Gallery 3 was not a secret either. The surprise was it was remarkable on a 12-inch. In their financials, they talked about it being on an 8-inch device. That was the only surprise. So I haven't heard e-ink talk about Gallery 4 or Kaleido 4. So it doesn't, I would be shocked if we heard anything about those technologies on a device this year.
That's a good
For that
point.
reason.
And I didn't know that Kaleido was e-ink. So that was my misunderstanding. I thought they did the gallery and I thought Kaleido was a different manufacturer.
Oh,
So
no,
that
it's
was
the
my
other
Well,
thing.
misunderstanding.
that's another interesting topic of like gallery and all these things. They're all are pretty much e-ink, right? Do you guys think there will ever be a company that will be able to compete with e-ink or have any sort of like share in the market? Because right now we have what's the other opportunities, like the transflective or RLCDs, which aren't really the same, but like
Yeah.
they are kind of in that same market where like you know the daylight, for example.
But they're not physical like e-ink is. I think when you
Yeah.
talk about moving physical pigment around, I think e-ink is going to be the only player in that market for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
They just got it unlocked. Everything I read is just they're entrenched in this. Like no one ever. I don't even know if anyone's ever even been mentioned as far as starting up their own e-ink. Do they even have the Do they have the patent on this still?
I think the patents run out.
Well, so I
Okay.
know it was invented in '97 at MIT,
Yeah.
which is actually across the bridge
Yeah.
for me. But I don't. Yeah, so I mean,
What is it, 15 years?
patents are like 17 years or something.
I think so, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it's expired. But like, also if you boil it down, like that picture I was showing, like of was it gallery, like the actual, if you think about the technology that's happening, it's pretty wild that they can like miniaturize that to such a small point. It's like I don't know if any company can really
That's what I'm
like
saying.
reinvent
Like,
the wheel in that way, you know?
I think that's the problem. Well, and actually that's a great point in that Gallery is under a new patent. So you have to keep that in mind. I just think ultimately the amount of money you'd have to spend on the production capacity, even though you could do it, is probably what's keeping other people from going into that market. It's like basically saying, I'm going to compete against Lego.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you can do it. I mean, it happens. There's Mega Blocks. There's a couple other things like that. I'm sure these references are totally meaningless to you, but the point is, there's this competitive advantage that anybody can do what Lego does, but they have these production advantages. They have the branding advantage, and so people that tried generally don't succeed. And that's I think that's where e-ink is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ed, should we go to chat a little bit?
Yeah, I was gonna. This one I thought was interesting. So, Boox Go 10.3. I don't own one, but it's probably the most interesting Boox device to me personally but someone's saying, is it even future proof? Do I return it?
I mean, I think for the price, it's pretty future proof. Like Carta 1200 is great. 300 PPI, you know. Rod, you're on mute.
Roger, you're muted.
Oh, my bad. Man, I was going in for a while there.
It was brilliant.
M&Ms are ruining everything for me. So, no, keep that 10.3. Whoever, calm down, bro. Calm down. Everything's going to be okay. You keep that 10.3. You got the best e-ink contrast device on the market. No one's touching that contrast for a long time, man. You're good.
I think that's great. And I'm gonna throw something in here. And we talked about this offline yesterday. But the 180 on some, and I'm not gonna name them, but you guys can if you want, on the no front light. When it comes to the Boox Go 10.3, that being okay, versus on Remarkable and Supernote, that being the end of the world, and we're just all going down.
No. He's touching a nerve. I can tell he's been waiting to say this.
Those of you who know me know what this is about. There are certain in the community who say that if you don't have a front light, it's not even worth touching. But yet now Boox did it, and it's all right.
What do you think, Jeff?
All right. We're so here's my comment on the question. Going back to the question. When I first started 3.5 years ago, I bought the Boox Note Air, the original. I did leave it for the Supernote, but I didn't throw it away. I gave it to a coworker. The coworker is still using the original Note Air to this day.
Wow.
The reality is these devices have long legs, and it's just like a car, right? If I bought a car today, it would have a certain level of tech, and then a few years later, you can buy cars with even better tech, but you still have a good car. And that's the case with e-ink. They actually can last a long time.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, my A5X does exactly what I wanted it to do, and I would keep it. And anybody who bought, if you like the Go 10.3, I'd say keep it. There's no reason to get rid of it. It's priced right, and it does good stuff.
My sister still has a Remarkable one, and it works fine.
There you go.
You know.
And my 10.3, besides the Supernote, sees the most use. I'm telling you. Like, so yeah, you're good to go, bro. Good to go.
We're
I
unanimous.
will say that I'm excited about the A5X2 because it goes back to the Mobius screen. That's the only thing on the Nomad that isn't my favorite. I like it and it writes good, but it's just a little too hard. There's not as much give as what you get when you get that feel right screen with that plastic give.
Yeah.
I enjoy writing on the A5X more.
Well, so I touched a little bit about this on a video recently. Also, Ed, I just saw you talked about the on the side here. It's saying the carrot update. I gotta watch that later. It's like recommended on your live stream. But
on our live stream.
Yes, correct. So getting back to the Supernote, I think the interesting thing is that I think Supernote, like even if they wanted to add a front light, I think they kind of have to stay without a front light because of Feel Right 2, because it adds more distance, right? And so if you're adding like a front light and that, so I'm actually curious to see the new Mobius screen if the pen to paper distance is better than on the Nomad. Because from my experience on the ViewWoods AI, like the pen to paper distance on this Carta 1300 is like insane. Like I was like looking at it really close the other day, and it's like it feels like you're writing like right on the paper. It's less than the Remarkable 2. It's obviously less than Supernote because that's Feel Right 2.
There's no front light with that, right?
No, just the Mini has one.
Right.
Like it's got a little front light.
But the larger size.
Hey Rod, speaking of that pen to screen distance, and this is I want to riff on that. So the Penstar, which is another one that it intrigues me because of the fact that it kind of reminds me of old school tech when it comes to the stylus for everything. But it removes layers. So to Vlad's point, does it feel that much different when you write on it?
It's weird. The Penstar is the writing experience is unique. I don't like the writing experience. Let's put that out there. And I guess may have an effect on how I see that distance, because technically it is the shortest distance you can get on any device that's out right now, because it doesn't have that EMR layer, and it doesn't have the or the Wacom layer, and it doesn't have
Doesn't have a
the
digitizer.
front light. Right, it doesn't have the digitizer for touch, so it doesn't have any of that stuff. For the devices that I have, it definitely has the shortest pen to screen distance, or display distance.
I'd actually be interested to see what the actual. I think I was searching on their site. I couldn't find the actual distance.
Yeah, it's really nice though. It's super close, but the writing feel keeps me from like really enjoying it like I do on the 10.3, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
One thing, so I agree with you, Rod. Like the writing experience is a little, it's weird. It's like really scratchy, you know, almost
Yeah.
like almost like I feel like too much almost.
It is. It's granular, very granular.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like hard nibs, and
and
it
I
just picks
think-
up all of that.
I was looking at it the other day. I feel like the screen is very textured. Like if you feel it, it almost feels a little like rough glass.
But it doesn't look that way, and it doesn't feel that way with the
Yeah.
stylus.
Yeah. But one thing I do like about it is actually I think the no digitizer is actually kind of nice because I like never have to worry about falsely pressing on something.
Exactly.
And that's something like I've had sometimes because this has the buttons now on the bottom. There have been times where I like activate something just by accident. And that's kind of nice not have to worry about that at all. Like, you know.
But you know what's on the other end of that? What's cool about the Penstar 2 is that let me grab it real quick. Oh, where is it at? Hold on one second.
Couple other comments while he's doing that.
Oh no, I'm back. We listen. Calm down.
Okay, got you.
We're-
No. I'm just popping these up. I'm trying to make sure everybody feels heard.
So, what I will say about this is that with the buttons here you got on the sides, it makes knowing that you're going to undo and redo something so satisfying, because it's not like, oh, it could like register, it might not register. It's registering every time, so it's just a sense of confidence you get with the buttons that's on it. So that's something I didn't think about before. That has been super assuring when I'm writing. I know that where the button for erase is, I know where the button for lasso is, and it's not a problem. Like I know it's going to actuate. So that's been the biggest thing for me with the Penstar, especially with not having a digitizer. Those buttons have been a savior. But I will say one thing about the buttons though before we move on to something else. They should add dedicated navigation buttons for when you don't feel like picking up that pen and doing everything with it. Like something that you can just up, down, left, right, select would be super awesome.
Ed, I realized I totally forgot to answer your question earlier. You were asking about modularity. Someone had a chat comment, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about the framework. Okay, so I think it's interesting because like the framework year over year, they pretty much put out the latest in either the Intel or AMD chips. And now it'll be interesting to see if they put out because Snapdragon's starting to make PC chips too. But those year over year improvements, like it doesn't really make sense to do it year over year, but like maybe every like 2-3 years it does. But just that you have the option to do that's awesome. And I think the biggest kind of factor for upgrading those, while there are some speed boosts, is like the actual battery, right? So they're getting way more efficient. And so year over year, you can like keep your battery and just keep upgrading the chip, and your battery life just like starts to get better and better, right? But that's interesting because like e-ink is not known for bad battery life. So I don't know if like they're gonna put out any new like chip anytime soon, like the SoC. That's the system on the chip, if anyone in the audience doesn't know. And so like I don't think year over year that makes a lot of sense to upgrade. I'm assuming down the line like we will eventually see one, but I think it'd have to have some really new like efficiency or like technology in there, or like maybe an MPU or something like. And then battery tech, like the other thing you could upgrade in it, is really stagnant right now. We haven't really seen like much increase in like the actual efficiency, or sorry, like longevity of batteries, and maybe the density has been improved. Like the framework, the 13-inch, they recently released a higher capacity battery that fits in the same exact kind of casing for the battery. And so yeah, I mean, was that kind of your question, Ed?
Well, I mean, it was the question in the chat. So if you want more clarity on that,
you asked about the framework. So like related.
Yeah,
to
my
the
thing
framework,
was, and I think what they open up, I think you answered it perfect from my thought. I think the idea of modularity is that if you want to customize that experience, so as long as you can fit it into the slot, then you could upgrade your own chip. You could add in, and again, that's way above my pay grade. I don't design my own computers. That's why I watch you do it. But seriously, I think that's kind of, I would answer that question and say, no, I don't think they're getting into the upgrade business. I think they're giving you the choice to be able to do things you want to do outside of their normal software and their normal hardware. They ship with whatever it is. If your battery does die, you can order it from them, you can order it from somewhere else, and you can replace it. But I don't know that they're going to get into selling components as like a main revenue stream. That wouldn't be what I would think.
So I'm curious, Ed, do you know, like, if you go on the Supernote website, you can't just buy a battery, can you? Do you have to contact Supernote to do that?
I think currently, I think their goal was to get it finalized. Again, they were on an accelerated timeline originally for the A5X2, and I think they were going to kind of have those available. Also, I mean, I've had my A5X, like I said, 3.5 years, and I'm seeing little to no battery degradation. So I think they're kind of like, what are the odds of that happening within the first year of sales? And if it is, we'll troubleshoot it on a one-by-one basis. But I do think down the road, they'll either have a supplier or point you to where you can purchase a compatible battery. That would be my guess based on what I've seen them do in the past.
And the A5X2 battery should be pretty good because it's bigger. It looks bigger than the Nomads,
Yeah, quite a bit.
But it is, I guess, it is pushing more pixels, so we'll see.
Hey, Rod, you got a fan getting up to go to the whiteboard. They were
getting up to the whiteboard. Yo, people clown me in my comments for my whiteboard. That whiteboard.
No, I love it.
No,
the whiteboard is hanging tough over there.
But Rod, the Penstar can't go on there, right? Because it's not a magnetic back.
Yeah, I tried.
The Supernote can't either.
Nah, but you know what? That's fine because the Supernote stays on the desk anyway. That gets regular use. But everything else is to be able to
Rod,
go grab it.
You could probably jam a magnet in there.
Listen, I'll try it too.
Don't take my advice. I don't want to put a magnet next to the SoC or the back.
Remember, this is on my channel, Vlad. What's going to happen is somebody's going to do it, and then there's going to be like hate comments down in the bottom going, somebody told me to.
Vlad said I could put a magnet in the back of my e-ink tablet.
Nomad dies the next day.
But on a serious note, though, this whiteboard has been so nice. And when I realized I could do that, it's been a game changer. I'm telling you, it's just, yeah.
Whiteboards are the most underrated technology. As somebody who works in academics, I've seen spaces where they take all the whiteboards out, and the first thing students do and the first thing the professors do is say, why'd you take all the whiteboards out? And we have two of them in our center with Rocketbook beacons around them.
By the way, just so everyone's clear in the audience, what's happening is Rod has a magnetic whiteboard. So a lot of these devices have magnets because that's how it attaches to the folio. So he takes the folio off and sticks the device onto the whiteboard. And it's actually quite amazing how well it holds.
Yeah.
And I'll link your video down when we do the post on this. I'll link some of your videos on all this stuff.
Well, you know what? I'll say this, and I was going to make a video, and I probably will, explaining the proper way to do this because I've had a couple of accidents. I ain't going to lie. A couple things.
Next week's video, my remarkable paper pro shattered.
So what I had to start doing is grabbing them from the bottom while I'm like pulling it from the board, just so me grabbing it doesn't push it down, and then it falls and hits the floor like it did twice. The remarkable paper pro, that thing's resilient. I'm telling you, that thing smacked the floor twice, no problems. Like it's not scratched, it's not dented. No, that thing is amazing. But yeah,
I know the
Nothing's ever
graphic says, "Do not
fallen.
try this at home."
yeah, don't try it at home. But it's,
Do this
Unless you were in the
drop test.
process of trying to take it off the board, you're telling us nothing's ever fallen, right?
right, exactly. Yep. Like so, like vibrations in the apartment, nothing like moves them. But to be fair though, my whiteboard has like a wooden border at the bottom, so if they were to shift a little bit, it would hit that border and kind of stop it from shifting.
They have that.
But I've had no problems though, no problems.
Here's a question
Just
for
be careful
everybody.
how you
Real
take
quick.
them off.
Somebody lobbed that one in there.
No, no. It'll be
Not a
fine. I'll
fan.
get used to it. I'll get over it. But I would not have asked for a half folio.
What do you think,
Yeah.
Vlad?
I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. Like, I think if they are launching with a half folio, that means the device has to be pretty robust because you have the back exposed all the time. I mean, well, Rod, the Penstar is the same, right? Like the back is kind of exposed. It is a half folio. I haven't really like taken that thing out and about, so I can't really comment on like the wear it's gotten.
I put feet on all my devices, so it never really sits on the back.
Got you.
The
But
Supernote has those.
I mean, I do like the mechanical aspect of the new folio design because now there's no magnets in there anymore. And yeah, like I said, I think they'll make a full folio. I don't know. It would seem weird not to. But
That shape though doesn't lend well to a full folio.
no, you're right. It'd have to be pretty custom.
Yeah, they have to inset it and inset the feet too. It'll be really weird.
Yeah, because of the taper, right? I think because of the taper, it is hard to make a full folio. I still think it's possible, but what would that even look like? I don't know. Anyways, yeah. What do you think, Ed?
I actually like it because I don't like the half folio as much. I like the design language. So I like the mechanical side rail. It reminds me it's a callback to this with the mechanical rail. And if you look at some of the pictures, and Vlad, I think you put up that like hidden image that was in the web HTML that shows the pogo pins. I think it opens up. I mean, Supernote right now is the only device that has Word natively. Like you can create a native Word doc without an app on it, but their typing experience, latency-wise, is pretty comparable, but support-wise is awful. So it doesn't have keyboard shortcuts. It doesn't have, I mean, it's not a good experience to type on the device. But if they fix that, if they figure out to do something similar to what Remarkable's done with the Typefolio, you could theoretically type a Word document in real time on the Supernote. And then when you sync, that thing goes to your cloud service of choice.
Yeah.
And you're all ready to go.
That's a good point, Ed. I think that's something that Supernote should really focus on because the Typefolio is very basic. Like, there's no spell check. There's nothing like, there's no advanced features. It's just basically a typewriter. But I think there is room for stuff there, like you're talking about with MS, docs and stuff. And right now you can use the Supernotes with a Bluetooth keyboard. And if they come out with a Typefolio as well, there's a lot of potential there in the writing aspect. And like I think you mentioned, Ed, it was like it's for those who write, and like typing is a form of writing, right? So
yeah. And I think that's what they need to do is focus. Yeah, Rod.
Come out with a Typefolio case.
And I think it does leave open the full folio. Like I said, it would be a design challenge a little bit, but who was it? Was it Kobo that had the one? And I think you're going to see this when the A5X2 launches. It's conjecture, but I think you're going to see like an insert that can cover that mechanical piece. Basically, I think it was Kobo. You peeled it off, you put the half folio in, and then you put it on.
Are you referring to Pocketbook?
Was it Pocketbook? I couldn't remember which
Yeah,
manufacturer.
I can grab it. I'll show you. Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah, but that's where I thought they were going, was kind of you have this placeholder because otherwise you're going to get dirt in there, you're going to get all this stuff in there. And they put the pin loop mechanical. So theoretically, you don't need a cover at all. You just take this thing with you everywhere you go. If you're in an office environment and you don't need a cover, you could have that placeholder that makes it look flush.
So
Do we know if that 10 loop thing is detachable from the A5X2?
Yeah, there's screws on it.
Oh, so it is detachable.
So Ed, if you can see here, the pocketbook,
Yeah.
it detaches.
That's
it,
exactly
and
what
then
I was
it's
talking
got-
about.
It's got the pogos, and it's got like a little clip system. And then there is like, I think what you're talking about. There's a little thing that comes. It's in the box somewhere, but that if you're not using a folio, goes there and makes it look like the rest of the back. You know.
Yep. That's exactly it.
And then it kind of just magnetically pops back in.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if
it's a
Supernote's going to do a mechanical
clever
version of that. And again, conjecture, we don't know, but it would make sense.
Yeah. And for a type folio, I think the type folio has to be a full folio design. Just because of the complexity of moving the keyboard of like when you do it, right? I mean, I feel like that would be tough to make a half folio type folio design if they did something like that.
Yeah, because the actual hardware with the screen would have to have some kind of kickstand.
Yeah, and you normally
function or
need like
something.
more than one part just to angle it up at that point, you know?
Yeah, that'd be almost impossible.
And there's a rumor that that's why it's not symmetrical, is because of a possible type folio. Now, I don't know why that would make a difference, but there's a reason. I mean, maybe it was because of size and because of just real estate. I don't know. But what do you think, Jeff?
No, I don't like type folios. I know they're popular. I know Remarkable and Boox have both, released. I actually have one. But if I'm going to type, and I do a lot of typing actually, if I'm going to type, I'm going to do it on a full mechanical keyboard in an ergonomic position, which is my desk computer. I guess if someone were more mobile and they're out in the field, then I get it. But I'm not writing out in the field. I'm writing at my study. So I don't. To me, it's just I feel this way about laptops too, actually. So this is not a specific criticism to e-ink, but if I had the option to write on my desktop computer versus a laptop, I'm taking the desktop every day of the week, twice on Sunday, because it's comfortable, it's ergonomic, it's the biggest keyboard I can possibly have. I'm making compromises for that mobility, which is okay if I am mobile. But I remember, last point I'll make on this. I remember when I'd first gotten my first laptop computer, and I was so excited about it. This is like decades ago, okay? And I was so excited because, like, yeah, I can go to the coffee shop and write. And what I found out is, like, actually, that sucks. There's nothing better than your closed environment where you can control it. You have no distractions, and it's comfortable. And so I've given up on mobile writing ever since that experience. And I'm just not into these keyboard covers.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, really, I think it's a cool thing. And one thing I do admire about Supernote is the options. So the idea, if you want this to replace a daily paper planner without connecting to any kind of services, it works. If you wanted to do, all of these things have dual purposes. And I think the option of a keyboard for someone who likes that makes a ton of sense. Personally, I write on it with pen and paper. And you're right, Vlad. I think you do write both ways, but I'm kind of in that camp of I'm going to use the big screen and type because I know the latency is perfect. I know that all the tools I need are there, and I'm not struggling to try to fit, into a use that is meant to be specific on the go, mobile, whatever they have. But I agree with that.
Two more things about the Supernote. Really quick, the pen loop being detachable. Do you guys just think that's so you can customize the pen loop or like take it off if you want?
You were up. I think it's because in an office environment, the pen loop. Sorry, I was saying. I think the reason they did it that way was so you didn't have to use a folio. But I think, yeah, they've got a huge Etsy community. They've got a huge, they've got a lot of followers who like to customize the device. But I also think it was a design decision so that if you don't want the folio, since it now has the rubber feet that I know Rod is a huge fan of, You don't have to. The pin loop is completely optional, and the folio is completely optional. So you could just have a slab and use the big mug of pins like Jeff has, and you're all good.
Yeah.
If you're in the study.
Ed, chat, they're talking about crystal.
Yeah, I just saw that one pop up. So,
What were you going to say, Jeff?
What was I going to say? Oh, I hadn't thought about this before until you just mentioned it, but they must be selling different loops with each folio. So if you have different colors, it comes with its own like loop that would match with it. And then you'd replace it out. I don't know why you would take out the loop if you're mobile at all, because then you'd have to carry the device and the stylus separately.
I also wonder how easy it is to pop that off, because it didn't look like screws. It looked like they're definitely metal, like they almost look like little like rivets. I don't know.
oh really?
Yeah.
Rod,
They'll probably
Muted, Rod.
just before we get to that, when they released the Nomad, they had the tool specific so you could unscrew the back. I would imagine they would do the same thing with the loop.
Yeah.
But it was just
I
a
think they're
small
like snap into
screwdriver.
place. Like they look like snaps to me. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's a good use case to remove that loop. Like for me, I take these devices and I'll put them in holders, and maybe there'll be third market cases for them, and you might want to take the loop off for those. So I mean, I know of at least one use case I would not want that loop on my tablet for like you when you like how you use your Note Air 3C, Jeff, as a kind of like a teleprompter. I would kind of use that like that in that fashion. And that loop would
I think, Rod, I think you hit it right there, because when I mentioned Etsy, although I'm not on there, but there are so many customized cases and sleeves. And a sleeve is a perfect example to me of why you wouldn't want the pin loop. And you would just want to put that in a sleeve and it just works. So I think that's a good decision on their part, because it's the only way around it.
Right.
If it's not attached to the case.
I want to go to that comment though. So just riff off that comment about crystal for the A5X2. If there isn't a crystal version for the A5X2, I will be disappointed. I'll get over it, but I will definitely be disappointed, because if the crystal Nomad makes it look so much slicker to me, not just the backside, but how it makes the device look a little bit slimmer.
Yeah, from the front, like
it looks great. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
So
one thing, and this goes back to our folio conversation, is when you like they're kind of, I think they must be acrylic, right? But they are very scratch prone. So for a half folio design, it seems like that could be an issue. Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it would still look cool, even though it wouldn't envelop the whole back of the device. It'd be almost like a little, like a Ferrari engine or something, where you can see the little cutout of like the internals.
They said
Somebody
no.
said that they said no. Now I'd have to kind of check that just to make sure.
Too,
but
like that's something someone could craft on their own and sell on Etsy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
you could even make it out of glass so it's less scratch prone.
That's
true. I think if anything they've learned,
design.
I think if anything they've learned is when they sent this for review, I mean, it just looks cool. I mean, this is the thing I show people. It's like, this is, like you said, the Ferrari engine, exposed. It's kind of like, how do we make this look as cool as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I remember
but it slows down production.
When I saw the promo content for the Nomad, I was like, okay, I need to get that device. Like, it was an instant sell. Like,
A form over function, Rod. I'd rather, in hindsight, have probably taken the one that has the peel off back, and then that could be interchangeable.
But that's why I chose it too, just because of that reason. Is that take off back if I want to change the color or something, it was an option. But I will say, I don't like the way that clear version looks from the back. I don't dig that at all. But you know what I do dig? I love the way it looks from the front.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take
like
it.
how that clear border around the edge of from the front
Yeah.
looks so nice. Oh my
Floaty.
goodness.
does.
It just adds a like I don't know how
100%.
you could have beat that.
Yeah. And I think that's
Your
why
mouth right,
it won
Rod.
an engineering award. But I think that also now they only have to produce one model. You know, that's what they ran into
Yeah.
big problems
Yeah.
with the
Right.
A6X2 was they backlogged on the crystal horribly, and it took people forever to get those in versus the other model, which seemed to ship pretty quickly.
Back so nice.
And if
can
you're
see it
small,
front.
what'd you say, Rod?
I was just making a joke about the crystal case.
That's enough out of you. Do we have any other comments that we should be addressing?
I was looking to see.
Alex just asked about the battery. I think Alex, I think you need to go
There we go.
through Supernote for that. That's what Ed said.
Or, yeah, probably reach out to them. They may put you into a second supplier, or they may have somebody who supplies it. But as of now, I don't know that they sell. They're not on the website. I know that.
I do want to reinforce what you said earlier in the video, though, Ed, in that I've had my Supernote for 2.5 years. I've seen slight battery degradation, but it's not even a concern for me. Now, the only other caveat I'll throw out there with that is I've never fast charged it. I always charge it via a computer USB port, and I just let it charge overnight. So it probably helps, but no, the battery's been amazing.
I do it the same way. I bring it home on the weekends, and it's the same thing that you do, Jeff. I think on Friday nights I bring it home, I plug it in, and then on Monday morning, and I do that with the Nomad too. And the Nomad, I will give you, but then again, it's hard because I use the A5X more. Even though I carry both to work, I still reach for the A5X. I just like it.
The bigger screen.
It's just my go-to. Well, it's not even that because I found that when I write on the Nomad, my writing actually adapts. And so if you look at a note I wrote on both and the scaling, they look almost the same. So I kind of adapt to it, but it's the screen. The screen is it feels really good, but it doesn't feel
with the
as
Mobius.
good as to the A5X.
I
With the Feel-Right
totally
2. I have
agree.
the Feel-Right 2 on the A5X.
I would.
That's right. You got it updated. Yeah. So yeah, your screen is gonna feel like the new A5X too, pretty much.
Yeah.
I like the original Feel-Right better than the Feel-Right 2.
Oh, hot
I
take.
think I would as well. I'm not gonna lie. I think I would as well. I haven't tried it yet, but something tells me I'm gonna like that one.
Well, you have the Feel-Right 2, Rod.
I mean the Feel Right
It
one.
came on the number. Oh, you think you'd like the original? I didn't
Yeah, because
dislike
I
the
don't
original
really-
at all.
Yeah, I think I would like it.
So what made you upgrade, Ed?
Well, because of the Nomad, I didn't realize at the time when I asked Supernote, I said, curious to see what this feels like on a different screen. And so they sent me one. I don't mind that kind of stickiness a little bit that starts and then wears out. But it feels, I don't even know how to explain it. It feels even more to me like writing on a pad of paper than the Feel-Right 1 did.
The 2
The
does.
Feel-Right 1 or the Feel-Right 2 feels more like writing on a
that's what I
pad
want
of
then. Maybe
paper.
okay. Good to know.
I agree.
And
Good to know.
and I think that that's the sensation that was almost there with the Feel-Right 1. It's the closest of anything I tried, whether it was Remarkable or, and I haven't tried a Boox device, but I've tried Remarkables. But the Feel-Right 2 just enhanced that experience. And all of a sudden it was like, yeah, this feels like I'm writing on a legal pad. It doesn't feel like paper, like a sheet of paper, but to me it feels like that legal pad feel.
Nothing feels like paper, though. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I've actually tried, side by side, and nor do I care. By the way, like this isn't even a thing for me. But every device has its own specific auditory feedback, and I actually think they're all great. I like them all, but nothing simulates paper. And unless you're talking about pencil on paper. That one, I would argue Remarkable comes pretty close to, but the Remarkable 2, that is. But I don't know why people care. If you close your eyes and you think right now, if everybody goes to this exercise, you close your eyes and you imagine writing on a piece of paper. Can you hear it? You might be able to, but I can't. I know when I do it that is writing on paper, but I'm not looking for these devices to capture that perfectly, which is great because they don't. Sorry,
I just don't want it to feel like an iPad. I agree with you 100%.
Oh yeah,
Writing on an iPad is a horrible experience.
Right.
You know what's interesting is like I have Feel-Rite 2 on my Remarkable, and it feels, even though like the Nomad's glass and the Remarkable's glass, the Feel-Rite 2 on the Remarkable 2 feels very different than on the Nomad. I don't know why.
Oh, interesting.
It should like
that is interesting
theoretically, but it does.
Here, check this out, and I think Rod, this is for you, and because I don't have this issue, but I know you do. And on the Nomad, I do have some of the palm rejection issue with the lasso, but this one's about palm rejection specifically on the Nomad.
Yeah, it's really bad. I can't say really bad, but it's something that you definitely are going to encounter, and it's going to be enough to at least frustrate you once or twice, in my opinion. But you know what though, I would take that if they just got the gestures down. If that didn't affect the gestures for the screen that much, I wouldn't care about the palm rejection as much.
Well, and that's why I said it was for you, because I don't have issue with the gestures, but I know that you do, and other users do. I mean, it's a real thing. I've had plenty of people, not just you, say it on Reddit and everywhere else that the gestures
it's so frustrating.
are broken.
Makes me just not. I just like decide to not use them and just go to the toolbar. That's why I'm so happy I got the Lammy with the button. Like I don't have the issue anymore.
See, I love the tactile, have the erase on the sidebar, and then have the selection on the screen.
Maybe I should.
To me, that's like I swapped that. Yeah, sorry, I have that swapped. I love having that dual so that I don't have to go to a toolbar. I love that, and it works on mine. So maybe maybe they just sent you a little.
You know what? They better do me right when I get this A5X2. They better do me right.
But you're gonna get next year. According to you.
Word. What
okay. I just want to be clear.
Dude, guys, we've been going for over 2 hours, and we have stayed at 30 concurrent viewers the entire time, pretty much between 25 and 30.
I'm so sorry,
the entire
everybody.
time. No, but that's crazy. So I mean, every time I start looking over and I'm like, okay, when are we weaning, and are we gonna, then it's like,
we can definitely keep going, but I know Kit's gonna start killing us here in a second.
Yeah,
is he 2 or 3?
If you guys in the audience have any comments, let us know. We're kind of free forming here, so we can kind of answer some.
Yeah,
we'll appreciate it, Christina Ray. We are definitely having fun here with this conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much. This has been a blast so far.
Yeah,
has anybody tried the Paperlike on the iPad, by the way?
I installed it on my friend's iPad for her and used it for a bit, and it's better than the stock iPad experience, but it's not going to be anything like these e-ink tablets. And I think that comes down more to the actual stylus tip on the Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think if you have an iPad, it's worth getting a Paperlike. But I think we're all in the camp here of like, there's a reason e-ink's so good, and it's because of the outdoor viewability and stuff like that, the non-distracted nature. So they're, in my opinion, they're very different. Like,
And one question I want to get from you guys real quick, because it's got me like, you mentioned the stylus tip. Did Remarkable make a huge mistake in going away from Wacom? Or is that the right move for what they're trying to do?
I think it was a definite bad move. Like, I don't know about anybody else, but I noticed the line quality difference, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
The little jaggedness.
Yeah, that.
I don't really like these things having batteries.
You're right.
That too.
But yeah, and then the other thing is just like the price, right? It's like those markers are expensive.
And you can't use like any of the other stylish you have. Like, take Jeff for example. You got a whole trove of them you can't use with this
You got a
device.
whole cup, yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So you find one you like, you spend years cultivating a collection of the ones you like, and you can't use it on this device you spent all this money on. It's like, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
didn't mind the Remarkable using it, but I'm with you. I mean, Wacom's great. I don't think it's better than Wacom. And to your point, yeah, if I have a stylus I really like, I can't use it on the Remarkable Pro. So yeah, I mean, it's fine, but I hope that's not the direction people are going. Wacom's perfect for me.
Although I will
You
say, I think
see,
that is the direction people are going, though. I do think the whole market's going to go this way with making these proprietary stylus. The Penstar, you can't use that pen on any other device, and you can't use any other pen on the Penstar. So I think there's a lot of companies going that direction. Sorry, just throw that in there.
no. I think that's a valid point. I don't know, and I apologize if I mispronounce his name, but Khalid, he just put out a review, probably one of the best reviews I've seen on the Paper Pro. And he mentions that even though it's is it USO is the
USI.
name, or US
Universal Stylus Initiative, I think.
USI, okay, USI. Even though it's a USI stylus, he had like 4 of them there, and they didn't work, like hardly at all on it.
Wow.
And
That's
he
interesting.
was like showing the jaggedness even with the Remarkable pen, which he said that happens on the Remarkable too. But he did a really fair comparison. Kit even commented and said, "This is probably the best review of this I've seen so far." And Jeff, you did a really good side by side with those too. So I think it's a mistake. I think Wacom's been around for a long time, and it's the best in the game when it comes to reliability and just functionality. But that's just my hot take on it. I'm surprised, but not surprised that Remarkable went that route, since
Yeah, I'm
they're
kind of
kind
in the
of
same
the
camp. Kind of in the
Apple
same camp.
of.
I think maybe the main reason for them doing it was the pen to paper distance, because they removed the Wacom layer because they had to add a front light because of gallery.
Yep.
And so maybe they didn't really have an option, because how does that look from a marketing perspective if the Remarkable Paper Pro's pen to paper distance is bigger than the Remarkable 2, right? That's not in
going
the
backwards.
ethos of, that's not really in the ethos of Remarkable, I don't think. But
Yeah,
I
good point.
kind of agree with you, Ed, there. Like, I mean, I like the ceramic tip so much that I put Feel Right 2 on my Remarkable, right? So, like, if the Remarkable Paper Pro had Wacom, when the A4X2 comes out, I would buy one of those and adapt it onto that, but I can't, because it's now an active USI. Or I don't know if it's exactly USI, it's a very similar standard. Because I think Kit pointed out in one of his videos that the USI pen he got to work on it, like, it was not nearly as good as the stock pen.
I felt bad
they
always
did make a
cutting
thing.
off Vlad, by the way, so I moved our chat bubble.
Oh, you're good.
I think that though they made I don't think they made a good decision with going with the USI standard, but they did make a good pen, though. I will give them that. That pen's pretty nice.
I
Even though it
agree
doesn't
with
have a
that
button.
comment. No, I'm sorry, not your comment. Your comment's terrible.
Oh!
No,
I was like, word?
your comment's fine. No, Christina's comment. Yeah, I agree. The Kobo device, it's not terrible, but it's a forgettable stylus. I feel like I'm almost writing with a crayon with its thick tip. And it's charged as well. I'm not a fan. I like
Is
the
that
Kobo
Are you
device.
talking about like the Libra color or something like that?
Yeah, Libra or Ellipsa 2E is the same thing. I think I have one here
So what
somewhere.
standard are those styluses?
I don't know.
I'm curious as to what the standard that the Penstar uses.
Oh, interesting, Alex. I wonder if that feels a little different
Yeah, here's the Kobo.
than the Paperlink.
Oh, and Alex, you do have to pay a licensing fee to use Wacom, for sure.
Yeah, that was the next one up. Yeah, I think that's where they're trying to save some cost. And
Worth it.
really, the biggest cost is e-ink. We already talked about that. I mean, you're all buying from the same manufacturer.
Yeah.
So then there's another. I'm trying to get some of these comments popped up so everybody can see.
Is that it? Have we filtered through the
I think
comments?
that's all the comments we have right now.
All right.
Yep.
Well, there's
Other
a
than
saying
this
in
one,
there's a saying in
people love their Lamy
in
pens.
show business, you always leave them wanting more. So I think we
Yeah.
got a natural stopping point here, fellas.
This is good. Yep.
I think so
definitely.
too. Well, thank
And
you.
we are coming back.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and thank you guys for being on with me to help launch this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
and,
everybody for
I
coming too.
appreciate-
If you're in the chat
Yeah.
right now, I appreciate all you
Yeah.
guys. Thank
thanks
you.
for all the comments, and thank you, Ed.
Soundwave
We,
81.
Ed did a lot of troubleshooting for this to make this happen.
Right.
So props
Yeah,
to
yeah.
him.
Yeah, and continue the comments down in, once we end this, continue the conversation down in the comments. I'm going to put a link to all of our channels in there. So please, if you subscribe to me already, subscribe to these guys. They're awesome. If you're new because of this to me, please subscribe to me. Just shameless plug. But we'll be doing more of these, and appreciate your time today. Y'all have been great.
Yeah, we're not sure whose channel it'll be on, but we'll make an announcement.
Yeah, we'll definitely update you guys. Thanks everybody for coming.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you all.
All right.